Hi everyone, welcome to Adventures with Raven and Rowley. I'm Raven and this is Rowley. We're slowly converting a cargo trailer into a tiny home. For the past 5 years, we've lived in an RV full time. Last week I talked about new stuff that happened, stuff that I learned about and stuff that I tried. This week I will talk about my first time fixing a car. I have never in all of the years and very many cars I've had ever done anything to a car except take it to a mechanic or a gas station. Anyway, I'll be talking, this is the first time fixing a car, and I'll be talking about that and the cargo trailer sealing and another surprise gift. If you're curious, please join us on this journey and continue to watch. Let's start off with the car. A month ago, a little bit more than a month ago, just before the WRTR, I had the oil changed in this car. Of course, I only had the car for a couple of months, so, you know, it was about time it had changed. Anyway, the mechanic at that time said that I had active oil leaks and the oil and the air filter needed cleaning. So, anyway, I went to the RTR and the women's caravan instead of getting the oil, the active leaks looked after or clean the air filter. And I had a great time. Anyway, on the way home from the women's caravan and the RTR, the oil pressure kept dropping. You know, the indicator, the valve kept dropping. And then it would pick up again, and meanwhile, in between, the car would kind of slow down, and, you know, it was crazy. I white-knuckled it the whole entire way home. There was no way in hell I could begin to think about affording a tow or anything, you know, because I was 400 miles away from home. So anyway, I figured it was because the air filter was dirty, because the car was working fine before I got the oil changed. You know, I think maybe the dirt was plugging up the holes and things. Anyway, I had checked it, the oil before leaving, and although it was a new oil change, I mean, I got the oil change I think like about a week before I went to the WRTR. When I checked it, it was black. Should have been something other than black. I figured it was sludge. Probably the oil hadn't been changed in years, or whatever. The sticker on the inside said 2020, and we're now in 2022. So they probably didn't change the oil. And like I said, the sludge in that oil probably was what was keeping the motor together, you know. Anyway, I have an active oil leak. So anyway, I thought most likely though, with the oil pressure gauge going down, that it had to do with the oil filter, you know, the air filter. Because a few years before, let me see how many years, 4 years before, maybe 5 years before, I had driven cross country in a 𝗪𝒐𝒏 35-foot Class A, and I was towing a full-size car. That's 3,300 miles plus. And during that 3,300 miles, I paid a mechanic 3 different times in 3 different cities along the route to check the engine, because it was doing the same thing. I'd be driving along, and the oil pressure would drop, and the rig would stall out. And you don't want to be doing, you know, 65, 70, whatever it is on the highway, and then drop down to 25. You know, it was like I was, you know, Fred Flintstone with the feet, trying to keep the rig moving, you know what I mean? Ultimately, I ended up in this little town. I have no idea what state it was, what city, what town, name, none of this stuff. But I ended up in this little town, And there was this young man there who was determined he was going to find out what the heck was going on with this rig. And ultimately, he took off the doghouse, you know, in the car, in the RV, and the top of the air filter. Well, the air filter wasn't connected. The hose had come completely off. So, you know, the air wasn't being regulated. So I figured, oh, it's probably the same problem. Or similar, something similar. But I wasn't thinking what it really was. So yesterday and today, I started to clean the air filter. It's a Spectre air filter, which means that I didn't have to replace it. I just need to wash it, clean it, you know. I used a Spectre cleaning kit. The thing about the Spectre cleaning kit is that you need gloves. You need gloves because it's caustic and it burns. It's poisonous and that kind of good stuff. What I did find out later on is that the K&N brand, you don't need gloves. But the kit that I have was made for at least 2 filters, so I've got I've got it for the next time I clean the filter, air filter. So I discovered that the air filter was not connected to the car. The butterfly nut was missing. The only thing keeping it in place was probably the hood. I mean, I've checked the oil, the steering fluids, etc. many times and never noticed it was loose. I couldn't find a butterfly nut or any nut to fit that bolt that holds on the top. So I took off the nut that was holding the bolt in place and used it to hold the hood of the air filter together. Here's a video. Okay, so I decided today was the day to change my air filter. It fits like that, and it's a Spectre. So let me go over here and show it to you. So you're supposed to be able to take it off and clean it. So I bought a kit to take it off and clean it. And then I realized that this was loose. And this screw is supposed to fit through the top hole here. Well, the butterfly screw nut that's supposed to hold that on is missing. So, and I can't get this out without taking this thing apart. So I figured I would take this nut off and secure it to the top here when I got that off. And that would hold it in place. Now, I've been getting check gauges, and the oil pressure, air pressure, oil pressure has been going down and whatnot, and I think it's because this has been loose, it's been off, it's been sucking in air. And not only that, I mean, to compound that, this is really, 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 really dirty. I don't know if you can see that in the light. There it is, really dirty. So that's the color it's supposed to be, blue. This is what it is. So I'm going to clean that out today. This is my first time ever cleaning an air filter. So I'm going to finish unscrewing that screw and put the top back on, and then I'll proceed with cleaning the air filter. Okay, so let me go over here and show you what's happening. I took that screw off out of the bottom and put this in up here at the top to hold it. So it's not wobbling around and that kind of good stuff. Now this thing, according to the video, you're supposed to bang it on the bottom to kind of knock all that dirt out and on the edges. I don't see any. There's no dirt falling off. But this is definitely dirty. So let me go put my gloves on, and spray the stuff. Okay, so 10 minutes has passed and I've washed it off as best I could. It's looking pretty good. I mean, I need to get somewhere in the sunlight or something here. Here we go. So there's still some dirt in here, you can still see. But it was completely covered with mud and dirt before. I don't know if I washed it again, if I gave it another treatment, it would get that out. But the water was running clear. So I think it's in pretty good condition. At least I know it's blue. Before I wasn't sure it was blue because it was all brown. So I have to wait for 4 or 5 hours, something like that, until this completely dries, 100% dry. 100% dry. And then I have to spray on the oil. And then I could just put it back in the car. I'm thinking that this part of the filter that was loose, so that all of the air was being sucked up through underneath the bottom here, and not going through the filter, or partially going through the filter, or sometimes going through the filter. Probably the hood was keeping it pressed down to some degree. But I'm sure that it was opening up and it was letting air in through the seam here. And as a result, I was getting the check engine light, which in this case doesn't say check engine, it says check gauges. So when I get the filter back on it, I'll give it a drive tomorrow and see what happens with that. See if the oil pressure light comes on or not. Okay, I'll let you know in a little bit when I get ready to spray the oil onto the filter. In about 4 or 5 hours, 6 hours, or maybe tomorrow, who knows, when it dries. That was real easy. It was an actual 10-minute job that spans average 5 hours, because you have to wait for the filter to dry. It has to dry completely, absolutely bone dry before you use it again. Oh, actually, I got to take that off. I just remembered I got to put the oil on. Okay, so much for that. Okay, this time I sprayed it. You notice it's not so blue anymore. Well, it's still blue, but it's a dark blue now. There you go. I sprayed it with oil. So it's now charged up. Screwed it back together. Found some other loose screws and screwed those back together. That's the piece that I had to find a screw for yesterday. So I'm going to go drive and see how this works. So I drove Princess. Princess is my Dodge Durango. She was made in 1999, and I love the Prince song, 1999. In fact, let me tell you a story about 1999, that year, that New Year's Day that was going to tick over to 2000, and everybody was worried about if the computers were going to go down and you know, the end of the world kind of scenario. So I went to this party. I mean, the music was hot. I mean, the DJ was unreal. It was great sound system. I mean, it was alive, this party, but it was in somebody's house, apartment in New York City, on the 3rd floor. And they had a sunken living room. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful apartment. Anyway, everybody was out on the sunken living room floor. And they were dancing away, and the music was blaring, and I mean, it was just wonderful, and it was getting up on midnight, and everybody is just stomping away and going at it, and I noticed, and I think everybody else in the room noticed, because all of a sudden things kept going. I mean, the level of dancing and and everything was going, but there was a certain awareness. What was happening was the floor was separating from the walls. So every time the beat would hit, the floor would go down a little bit and would separate just a tiny bit from the walls. We were on a third floor apartment. I can't imagine what the people underneath us, what their ceiling looked like. I could just imagine the chandelier swinging. Nobody got off of that dance floor until the music ended. It was amazing. It was a fabulous party. Anyway, so that's why I named her Princess. Okay, because she was made in 1999. So anyway, I took her to the car wash. Poor baby really needed it, you know. I mean, we had bird poo, everything. It sits underneath a pine tree, so you know, pine sap. Anyway, she got a real good cleaning. I got gas. Hated that. Oh my God, the gas is unbelievably priced. And I dropped off some stuff at Goodwill and did some other stuff, okay? Meanwhile, I kept an eye on the dash. And it's still registering an oil pressure drop, probably because of the active leaks. And it's still registering check gauges. Okay, I went to put some gas in here. As you can see, there isn't any. And both the check gauge is light and airbag light is on, and air pressure is 0. And the oil pressure is 0. Don't know what that could be. Got to get it to a mechanic. So the next bout of savings goes to the mechanic. Okay, that's the way it goes. As for the cargo trail, I've been working on the ceiling. I bought some black duct tape to tape up the ceiling ribs so that the edges of the insulation, you know, the white fuzzies on the insulation doesn't show. Then I decided that the duct tape wouldn't stick because the ribs get really, really hot. So I found some silver tape that I had in the house and put it up. And then there's this stuff. I had originally thought to buy black duct tape. And then I realized that black duct tape isn't going to stick in this heat. Let me show you what I mean. See these ribs? This is hot. This is really hot. I can't really keep my hand up there. So I was thinking, oh, I probably need the silver. Well, it's hot too. What I really need is the silver HVAC with insulation. So I have to order some of that before I can continue this, because I'm going to do the ceiling. Make it pretty. So I hit up Home Depot for some insulation tape. Now it says that you shouldn't apply it to a pipe hotter than 180 degrees. I don't believe that the top of the trailer gets up to 180 degrees, but at the same time we're out in the sun. So I'm leaving the silver tape in place and putting the insulation tape on top of it to hopefully insulate the tape a little bit. Meanwhile, I thought of a terrific idea to cover the ceiling, the whole entire ceiling, make it gorgeous, okay? And that's coming soon. Okay. And then there's windows. Windows are also coming soon. What happened was, this morning when I was walking Rowley, I met a neighbor. And he told me that had been offered a salvage RV, and if I wanted, I could come over and take out the windows I wanted. So tomorrow morning I'm gonna go get me some windows. Now he said he would put them in for me, which is cool, absolutely cool. And I'm seriously looking forward to having them installed on the cargo trailer. And the last thing on the list, I'm also, well, the last thing on the list as of today anyway, I'm also planning my next trip out boondocking, which will be in a couple of weeks. The last women's caravan of the season is starting up in about a week, and I'm thinking I'll go spend a week or two with them. Should be fun. The link is in the notes below if you would like to join a caravan. There's a bunch of them, different kinds, and it's not only the women's caravan, but there is also a co-ed caravan. Okay, so come out and join us. What the heck, you know? What else are you doing? Anyway, the Rowley report. I've figured out a way to keep Rowley in his harness. Oh, let me go show that to you. Okay, this is Rowley's harness. Let me see. Oops, yeah. Okay, his head goes through here, and his butt goes through here. I had just this. This is what I had him connected to. And you can see it would give him a lot of leverage. If he started pulling, it would go like that, and he could back out of it. He just didn't know he could back out of it before until last week. So I put a couple of key rings up here near his neck. So if he tries to pull on it, it's not gonna pull the back, and he won't be able to back. In fact, he's not able to back out of it. And he was really upset when he found out that he couldn't do that. So anyway, okay, Rowley, come here. Did you see anybody out there you want to see? Did you see somebody out there that you wanted to go out and play with? Is that what it is? Or did you hear me talking about you? You heard me talking about you, right? Yeah, okay. Okay. But he's doing okay. He's doing okay. People are beginning to remark in the park that, wow, he's not barking at me anymore. And he actually took a treat from one of the men in the park, which is surprising because he really did not like the idea of any man coming anywhere near close to him. Anyway, so thanks for watching, and thanks for your support. And see you next Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific time. You take care of you and yours, and blessed be.